I became a full-time high school special education teacher in New York City at age 20. For years, I recounted the experience like this. I worked in the trenches of the inner city school system, where 87% of students lived below the poverty line and 20% of students were diagnosed with learning disabilities. What kind of school do you picture when I say that? If I elaborate with, yeah, there were metal detectors and police, what kind of assumptions do you make about the children in that building? What I hear now in that story is an analogy of my school to a war zone, skating over the racial makeup of the students by describing their socioeconomic status, and perpetuating the tendrils of biological racism by framing difference as inferior. We teachers joked about the fact that our building looked and felt like a prison, with not a single window in any classroom. No wonder our kids didn't want to be there, we said. No wonder they only came for the free lunch, we said. No wonder there's a school-to-prison pipeline, we did not say. I didn't understand that joking about the metal detectors we all had to pass through in the morning, or calling school security when fights broke out, was perpetuating harm and precluding learning. My difficulty to speak frankly about racial injustice, to name or even see the issues my students were facing, made my classroom not the safe space I wished it to be. So if I then tell you about the private school where I later worked, with the biodynamic farm down the road, and the maypole in the front courtyard, what color do you imagine those children to be? Those teachers. Part of dismantling white supremacy might look like facing our assumptions head-on and replacing them with facts. In fact, the New York City public school where I worked serves 60% Hispanic students, 30% African American, 6% Asian, 3% white. The private school doesn't have any official data, but anecdotally, I think it serves about 85% white students. One place we can start talking frankly about race is when we're talking about the pandemic. For example, the widening learning gap in schools during the pandemic is a result of disparities in resources, such as access to Wi-Fi or parental availability, or reduced ESL services. The system that was built to benefit white heteronormative families is continuing to do so, while families of the global majority in the United States seem to remain unseen by those families who are not experiencing this harm. This invisibility is exacerbated now when families can stay home in their bubbles and really choose not to see the systems that support them. I think one way we can start to build the beloved community is by equipping ourselves with not only knowledge and facts about obstacles to justice, but also experience talking about them in a space where it is okay to be uncertain. I hope to see you after the service or on Tuesday evening for a beloved community conversation. Links will be in the chat. And I'll leave you with a final question. Are there ways you think about inequalities in education that may reflect your own privilege or prejudices?